kick the baby! Don't kick the goddamn baby.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
If a friend of yours asked you to define the term bottom feeder to them, you'd most likely have a definition that differs from the next guy. But regardless of your opinion, it'd most likely cover one of these three general ideas. But why is any of this important? If not evident by the title of this video, we're going to be covering Illya von Einsburn, or as the community probably calls her, a rat. Now, one clarisis I wager is vital when talking about Illya is that she is not very suited for once due to her nature of a character, which doesn't really have any value at the moment, but let's be glad she's not a 1v1 centric character, because it only gets worse. Anyway, let's actually dive into the video. Illya is a very special humanoid character. Not only is she the smallest, but she also has a rather unique move that allows her to soak up 2 hits. Useless against barrages and multi-hits, overpowered against powerful single hits. Given the nature of Illya's attacks, she can be regarded as a zoner, which I doubt people will find issue in, and it's kind of her playstyle due to a massive issue that plagues her. What is the issue? Well, you know how literally every single character in the game has a standard 120 HP or something like that? Some characters are able to boost their health past that, in Awakenings at least. Illya has a grand total of 70 health. 70. In the game where a combo can average, 70 to 100 damage. 70 health. What? So, with the logic we've presented, the reason Illya's attacks are designed the way they are to accommodate for her 70 health. Her attacks all coincidentally being projectiles and disjoints. A low health zoner with no actual melee attacks. Oh no. Immediately our issues with this gremlin come to light. Because of Illya's low health, she's a not so very viable 1v1 character should your enemy have an extremely good anti-neutral, or, counterpick. So she'd evidently be taken to public servers and worse, 2v2. And this is where Illya's issues somehow grow tenfold. Since you're forced to play careful with her, you'll find yourself fighting for scraps a lot of the time, interrupting enemies, finding low health people, distracted people, and using teammates as aggro. Remember when I asked you how you'd define a bottom feeder to a friend? Well, this is where your definition can now come to use. Illya is able to take advantage of their own teammates by using them as literal bait to secure herself damage in any way, shape or form, and this becomes taxing very quickly. Should the Illya's teammates use something that pairs very well with her, you essentially have a difficult to punish 1v1 character paired with an obnoxious third party that you either have to ignore because they can run away, or you'll have to deal with their teammates' onslaught, or have to actively chase, resulting in the chance your teammate is now in trouble and the Illya is most likely still escaping your grasp. A literal bottom feeder. She would be able to put a sea cucumber to shame. And I want to remind you, this is all under the basis of Illya as a character. Put her in the hands of someone that understands her risks, and you get someone who would make you rather get one comboed by a Kurapika. At least with one of them, they'll approach you. The other one, not so much. And this is all due to how poor her design is, which we shall segue into now. There's a reason every character in this game has a standard 120 health. It makes the playing field even and ensures characters are not designed around an egregiously awful gimmick that forces some unconventional methods of play. Illya goes against this big time. We're going to use Goku Black as an example of how a zoner can be done versus how a zoner shouldn't be done. The reason Goku Black works, as prehistoric as he is because Goku Black's projectiles are all reactable in one way or another. They don't really offer him combos, but on the contrary, ensure that Goku Black is usually safe. It's not a fun character to fight, no, but he's certainly a more balanced character to fight compared to Illya, who is forced to play passive because she literally cannot afford to take damage. Goku Black can because he has the standard issue health. Illya was designed with low health in mind to make her unique, but by making her unique, she ends up becoming a balancing problem because how do you keep a low health, full zoning character with combo starting projectiles and disjoints balanced? I'll tell you how, you don't. And that's her key problem. If Illya's health was raised to 120, she now has more health and obnoxiously strong tools. If Illya's tools are nerfed, she now has low health and mediocre attacks, making her worse than the likes of Mob. She'd need a full rework to even have the standard issue health with balanced, well-rounded attacks. And if a rework is the only option to bring a character down into the line of balance, yeah, we've got an issue. A very small one. But you know what, let's set all that aside because who the hell cares? You finally have the Illya in a combo. Let's see her stupid 70 health saver. Yeah, she has an evasive. This is something that actually annoys me. Not the evasive part, but just the simple fact she was given one. This essentially tells us that whoever issued this buff knows Illya is poorly made and is an all or nothing parasite of a character. So instead of doing literally anything else to make this character, you know, normal, nah, just give her an evasive and call it a day. Solve zero solutions, add another problem. This ultimately gives players less reason to even go after an Illya because what's the point? Is it really worth having to fight through an enemy that can at any moment just get a cheeky hit on you while your teammate is struggling to keep them in check? Just to maybe land a single M1 on the Illya only for them to...
こっちだ。薄のろ。
Is that really worth it? And the fact I even have to ask that is genuinely sad. This is a character trying so hard to be unique that it ends up failing in every way. Maybe it's fun using such a glass cannon character until you pit against the likes of him. And the funniest part is that Illya doesn't even manage the top 50 wins of 1v1s nor 2v2s, and her ban rate isn't that high when you compare it to, you know, the top dogs. I honestly can't wrap my head around why Illya has to be made like this, because if we were under the logic of, well, Illya is a small child, so she has to be weak, by extension, Deku should gradually lose the ability to use a named smash, since, you know, he's just a teenager breaking his arm just to use an ability. It's poor logic, and you know it. Balancing a character based on outside factors for the sake of making them unique will always have a high chance of failure. It doesn't bring anything new except frustrations and questions. How does Illya having 70 health make her any more unique to someone like Gacha who formerly had bonus health, or even Whitebeard's bonus health before that was removed? Unnecessary gimmicks leads to unnecessary balancing. Unnecessary balancing calls for unnecessary playstyles, and where do unnecessary playstyles lead to? Unnecessary counterplay. I can tell you all of that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Illya standing in the line of power, she's really not that high. Hi, future me here. I'm actually going to tread back on that statement and change my take on it a little bit. While I still believe Illya is not that high in the realm of power, I wager her nature as a bottom feeder carries her over to that realm because of how good she is at it. This ultimately depends on the situation, but it's kind of similar logic to how Ragnar has a relatively okay base to an outrageously overpowered awakening. Wow, I can't stop using Ragnar as an example. Ragnar works great as a leech character, and so too does Illya, and because of that, I wager it's a barely decent enough argument to put her a bit higher, but this is give or take, so feel free to correct me or disagree. She's in the exact same vein as Ishtar, characters that are unanimously hated, yet pale in comparison to some of the actually broken characters of today. But that really tells you a lot about these two, especially Illya if she's arguably the most hated character in the game without even being a top 50 meta character. But anyways, I think it's time to end the video. If you enjoyed, subscribe, comment your thoughts on Illya or something hateful for her, and yeah.